As it pleases the court, my lord, I still appear on behalf of the first applicant in this matter.
May it please your lordship, I still appear on behalf of the second applicant in this matter.
As it pleases the court, I still appear for the state.
Thank you. Good morning to all.
Good morning, your lordship.
Thank you. May I proceed, Mr. Lutibezi?
As it pleases the court. Mr. Esau, you recall that yesterday you started dealing with the governmental objective quotas,
Correct, my lord.
and you identified two governmental objectives that you were aware of until you left office in 2019.
Correct, my lord.
Those being the Namibian Fish Consumption Promotion Trust and drought relief.
Correct, my lord.
Okay. And you said by the time you left office, those are the only two governmental objectives that you are aware of, correct?
Correct, my lord.
Okay. And yesterday, I also listed certain entities that received funds from these governmental objective quotas,
Correct,
and
my
you testify you were not aware of these entities.
lord. Correct, my lord.
Okay. And that they were not involved in any governmental objective projects that you were aware of.
Correct, my lord.
Okay. Now, your new facts, which you've raised before this court, partly is that you have nothing to do with the offenses and that you were used by your co-accused. Is that part of your evidence?
Come again, my lord.
Is it part of your new fact that you had nothing to do with the offenses, you were used by the co-accused, and that your names and credentials were opportunistically used by some of the co-accused persons?
Correct, my lord.
Okay. So you have seen the indictment, correct?
I saw the indictments.
Yes.
As released or availed,
And-
disclosed.
And yesterday you also testified about having gone through the disclosure and some documents in the disclosure, correct?
I went through the incomplete disclosures.
What you have in your custody.
Yes, my lord.
Okay. If it's incomplete, that has not been brought to our attention. All right. But nevertheless, let's continue. So are you saying that your co-accused persons used your name to commit offenses as outlined in the indictment?
That's what you are saying, my lord.
No, I'm asking you, because you say that they used your name,
Yes, my lord.
that you had nothing to do with the offenses, your co-accused persons used your name.
Correct, my lord.
So I'm asking you, are you then saying that your co-accused persons used your name in committing the offenses outlined in the indictment?
They used my name without me being aware of them using my name.
You used your name to do what?
To say that I'm part of them.
That is it.
I'm conspired. I'm part of them.
Conspiring to do what?
To access marine resources for the benefit of myself
Oh, okay.
and them or whoever.
Oh, okay. Now, in your evidence, you also testified that it is unheard of for you as a minister to direct for fish to be allocated to a political party. Is that correct?
Correct, my lord. In a democratic, multi-party democracy.
And you further went on to say that if that party has no right, it is unfair to other parties. Is that correct?
Unfair, unreasonable, and unjust.
Unfair, unreasonable, and unjust. In actual fact, you went a step further in your evidence, and you say that such an allocation would be unlawful.
Unjust, yes. Unlawful.
I'm quoting you from your evidence.
okay.
You said you used the word unlawful.
In the press, it's written like that.
No, in your evidence.
Okay, fine.
That's
it.
your evidence, your testimony in court.
I have no problem on that.
Okay. Okay, so what you acknowledge today basically is that a political party cannot be a beneficiary of governmental objective quotas. Mr. Esau?
I'm just taking note,
Oh, okay.
because I'm here taking
Oh,
note. I don't
okay.
want to- Yes, my lord. Political parties without any rights or not fitting within the definition of 3.3 are not entitled to governmental objective quotas in a multi-party democracy where you have more than one party.
All right. And it is not certainly not for governmental objective purposes if the benefits for the party is for purposes of campaigning. Is that correct?
Come again, because I want to hear.
The
understand
benefit
the-
that
yeah.
the party will derive from those quotas is to use the funds for campaigns.
Please, yeah.
Yes, it is not part of the governmental objectives for a political party to benefit from the funds of governmental objective quotas for purposes of campaigning.
This question is not really making sense to me.
Okay.
I think he's just extending.
Yeah.
He's just extending the question
Yeah.
the way it stopped. You indicated that a political party that does not qualify in terms of the definition of the Act is not entitled to be awarded quotas. Now I hear him taking it to another leg of saying it may not utilize governmental objective funds for purposes of campaigning. It's still more or less the same aspect.
Yes, Your Lordship. Thank you.
No, if you are not entitled, you cannot use funds for campaigning. In short.
All right. And you are aware, insofar as this case is concerned, that there are allegations that funds derived from governmental objective quotas were transferred to two law firms, DHC and Caesar Namibian Incorporated, correct?
My Lord, as I've testified, I have not directed, neither instructed transfers to those very law firms. And if funds were transferred to those law firms, I am not here to testify on behalf of those who transferred those very funds to those law firms.
All right. The reason I'm asking you, as the Minister of Fisheries, who was dealing with the quotas, and you also signed off on the letters by Stier and Frente, I'm asking you today, with the disclosure that you have received, that you are aware of such transfers today.
With the disclosures, I am aware, my Lord. I became aware.
Oh, okay.
I became aware with the disclosures.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from your knowledge as the Minister of Fisheries, and from what you are aware of today regarding those transfers and the documents you have in your possession, you agree with me that those transfers to the two law firms were unlawful?
For sure, in terms of what transpired, it was unlawful it was unreasonable, and it was unfair.
And I suppose you have also been provided a forensic report by your legal practitioner to Perus. It was also
I
disclosed.
was provided with a forensic report by Deloitte and Touche, whereby they state, where they said there's a disclaimer on that report.
Okay. And you appreciate from that forensic report that they analyzed the transfer of funds, and it appears that the funds which were forwarded to these two law firms were used for personal purposes by the co-accused person. Is that correct? To pay off loans and campaigning, purchase assets, and...
This is what the report reflects, my lord. And that is also a report that was a disclaimed report by the very law firm called Deloitte and Touche.
Oh, okay. Now, from your evidence, I understood you that with regard to this unlawful transfer of funds to the two law firms, you were not involved in the misappropriation of that funds. That is your evidence, correct?
Correct, my lord.
All right. So can you tell me, from what you are aware of today, who was responsible for misappropriating and stealing these funds which are meant for government objectives? Because you said the transfers were unlawful, they should not have been done. Who was responsible for that?
My lord, I was not micromanaging Fisco or whoever was responsible for the transfer of those very funds. I was not involved in that.
Okay. So those who were involved in the transfer of these funds, you are saying those are the ones who stole the money?
My lord, let them come and testify as witnesses in this very case. I don't want to say somebody has stolen or somebody has misappropriated. Let those ones, my lord, come and testify. I'm testifying here for a bail consideration by our courts.
Okay. So you don't want to mention any names of any persons you say may have stolen the money or misappropriated the money, the funds?
He did not say that the persons that may have stolen. He said he does not want to answer to those particular questions. So that question has been asked and answered, because he said let them come and testify on their own behalf. It's not for him to say who stole money or misappropriated money.
I understand what you are saying, Mr. Biegas, but how I see the question is, counsel is trying to establish his position. Where does he stand exactly? So let me allow the question to be repeated.
As you please the court, your lordship. So you do not want to mention the names of the persons who misappropriated the funds as alleged in the indictment?
My lord, I don't want to stand here and mention names where I'm not sure of who exactly in the management of Fisco, who in the board of Fisco did in fact direct payments or instruct payments to those very law firms. Because I don't want to be accused again by anybody else that I or whoever has directed or instructed payments.
Okay. You see, the reason that I'm asking you that question is because of the new facts that you raised. You said that your name was used by your co-accused persons. You had nothing to do with the offenses. So I take it that you do not want to identify whoever that co-accused person is or co-accused who used your name. Is that correct?
My Lord, it's not the fact that I don't want to identify any co-accused. In my evidence in chief, I have demonstrated who was involved in the directions of payments of governmental objective quotas. I brought out evidence here in my evidence in chief. I testified with evidence in chief here. Who did, in fact, who was involved in the utilization of those very funds?
Who's that person, Mr. Esau? Just repeat it for me in cross-examination. Who's that person who used your name to misappropriate these funds?
My Lord, let's go back.
I want the name.
I want, my Lord, I don't have any, but the disclosure is very explicit. I have demonstrated here payments that's under file divider 1, WW5, under WW5. I'll have to go back. Payments to Cuba Tech Nika from Paulus Kalangi, who is a state witness for that matter. I saw the list. From Mike Nipunya on the 12th to Paulus Kalangi. We need, good morning, Paulus. Good morning, Paulus. Just want to draw the court's attention to this. I have forwarded the translated invoices addressed to Seaflower. That is what they are saying. This very email is part of, it was copied to the permanent secretary then, the ED, Moses Mauri Hungirire, who was a board member. My Lord, we are together on this.
Yes,
Who was a board member and also ED of the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources. I am not featuring anywhere, but all what I can see from this very email correspondence, it demonstrates that I have not directed, neither instructed payments to any beneficiary of governmental objective quotas.
Okay. There were also payments to the law firm DHC.
Yeah, I have seen that in the disclosure, my Lord, that there were payments made to DHC.
My question is, who of your co-accused persons used your name? You've not mentioned the name yet. Who of your co-accused persons used your name to misappropriate these funds?
My Lord, I cannot pinpoint, but I know my name was used. I know my name was used because I was not even aware or known Baron de Klerk when funds were transferred to him. I happened to know him only end of 2017. End of 2017, November, whereby Saki introduced me to him. That's it. But what happened between, after or prior to 2017, I never knew about that.
Oh, okay. Mr. Mike Nipunya is your co-accused person in this matter, correct?
My Lord.
And you are aware that he has launched a bail application?
Correct, my Lord.
And he testified in his bail application?
Correct, my Lord.
And you are aware of his evidence in the bail application, yes?
I saw it. And
Yes. In fact, you briefly touched on it in your evidence in chief, you recall?
Correct, my Lord.
Okay. Now, you have testified in the case before court that you did not direct payments to the law firms DHC and the law firms Namanje Incorporated.
Correct,
Yes?
correct, my lord.
All right. You see, your co-accused person, Mr. Ngipunya, he testified that the payments to DHC and the law firm Namanje Incorporated was for the Sopo Party Congress. And you said, according to your evidence today, that is unlawful, it should not be done, yes? Please answer so that the mic picks you.
Correct, my lord.
Okay. And he indicated that you, Mr. Bernhard Esau, as the minister, had identified the beneficiary. That's his evidence. Your co-accused person is pinpointing you as the person who authorized and identified the beneficiary for this unlawful transaction. What is your comment on that?
Devoid of any truth.
Devoid of truth. And he went on to say that, look, him as Mr. Bernhard Esau, he just follows orders, yeah? That he has no power to tell you as the minister who the beneficiaries are. What is your comment to that evidence?
My lord, when I was a minister, I never interfered into the management of a state-owned enterprise like Fishco. I never interfered. I never micromanaged. I have to use the word micromanagement. And what was happening in 2015, December, to Cesar Namanje, where money was transferred, there was no campaigns, there was no elections. That's why I said it's devoid of any truth.
All right.
2016, or whatever time, when money was transferred to DHC, there were no elections. There was no campaign. I don't know. So it's devoid of any truth, what was testified here.
Okay, this is in respect of 2017 that you was testifying about.
2017 for the financial year 2016.
Okay. And he went on to say that with regard to these projects involving governmental objectives, that these projects were carried out, that these projects, the projects to be carried out were specified by you, the minister. What is your comment on that?
Devoid of any truth.
Okay. All right. Now, if there were certain costs or expenses that Fishco needed to pay, would they be entitled to make representations to you as the minister to allocate quotas to cater for those expenses or costs?
Sorry, just repeat the question.
If there were any expenses incurred by Fishco or any costs that they intended to pay, could Fishco approach the minister for representations in order for the minister to allocate quotas to Fishco to cover those costs or expenses?
My Lord, my testimony on that question is that quota allocations are not made by the minister, whether commercial, non-commercial, or from the reserve. I have testified already in my evidence in chief that when it comes to quota allocations, applications are first made. Even Fishco has to make an application in terms of the Marine Resources Act 39(3)(a). They have to apply for a quota. To who? To the office of the PS. as the minister has delegated that function and duties to the Minister of PS in terms of 61.1, which gave birth to a regulation 241 of 2001, which I also testified on already in my evidence in chief, and all applications are evaluated there. I will not have the capacity to evaluate, even if they say that the presentations are made to, in terms of that gazette which you referred to. But that gazette, I've testified that precedence of any issue is taken by the Principal Act. That's the Marine Resources Act.
All right. Mr. Ngipunya was CEO of Fishco, correct?
Yes, my lord, he was a CEO.
And the CEO, he was in essence responsible with regard to the governmental objective quotas.
Correct, my lord, as he testified.
So he should know how these quotas were received by Fishco, yes?
My lord, he should know because the letters of allocation is sent from the PS or the Management Administration of the Fisheries Ministry to the manager, the CEO of Fishco, whereby he has to acknowledge or accept or not accept, because I made reference to the letters of allocations, where I also made reference to the last sentence or paragraph of that very letter, which is not even copied to me as the then Minister of Fisheries. And it's only copied to management of the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources. And I testified on that, my lord, in my evidence in chief.
Now, he further went on to testify that as the minister, you could also approach them to undertake a project, and then they would inform you how much it costs, and then you allocate a quota.
I don't allocate quotas, my lord. I'm repeating this one. I'm not awarding quotas, my lord. As a minister, you are getting recommendations through an internal memo to approve the allocations of quotas that was made by the administration, by the PS office. And I testified on that as well.
How did you put your question? To say he could approach Fishco
To undertake projects.
to undertake projects.
And then Fishco would inform him how much that would cost, and then he would allocate the quotas.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to say something?
I was just saying, my lord, again, my evidence in chief. In my evidence in chief, I was saying applications for quotas, whether commercial or non-commercial, or from the reserve, is made to the office of the PS. Allocations of quotas is not made by the minister's office. It is recommended based on the applications by those, if Fishco included. As a recommendation, the PS office made recommendations to the minister for approval of allocated quotas determined by the office of the PS Management and Administration of the Ministry of Fisheries. In terms, and I have made reference to section 39(3)(a) of the Marine Resources Act as well.
All right.
in terms of applications.
So in instance, you're the one who approves those quotas.
What must I do? It's administrative, my lord, I've said. Administratively, the matter is brought to me to approve, because if I don't approve, again here, because it's not only a quota allocated to Fishco in that very internal memo. There's a number of right holders and non-right holders who are recommended quota allocations, my lord. So if I don't sign, if I don't put pen to paper on that memo, the repercussions will be serious in terms of jobs, in terms of investments to the industry, to the fishing industry.
So are you saying that when a recommendation is brought to you for approval, you have no choice but to approve? You cannot refuse.
Come again, my lord.
When there's a recommendation from the PS for approval brought to you, you have no choice but to approve. You cannot refuse.
I have no choice, my lord, because if I don't approve, if there's no kind of signature of the minister on that internal memo, they won't be able to send the letters out to inform those right holders and non-right holders about allocations of quotas.
All right. Now, what if you notice in those recommendations that the allocation of a quota, a governmental objective quota, is not for a governmental objective purpose? Do you still approve?
My lord, I have testified in terms of the communications of cabinet decisions. I've said that the cabinet secretariat, which is based in the office of the Prime Minister, normally will send that decision to the permanent secretary, PS office, to the executive secretary. And I have highlighted even there underneath the letterhead, all official correspondences are for the office of the permanent secretary. I testified that in my evidence in chief. And that very decisions of allocating quotas for sure will be it coming from the recommendations of the office of the PS to the Minister for approval.
Mr. Esau, you have not answered my question.
Okay, maybe
If you note in the recommendation that quotas destined for governmental objectives, if you note in the recommendations from the PS that there are quotas awarded based on governmental objectives, which are not going to be utilized for governmental objective purposes, do you still approve those quotas, those recommendations?
If I note
Yes,
that there are quotas allocated
for governmental
for
objective
governmental
purposes.
objectives,
Let me give you an example.
correct.
To a political party, for example, you know definitely this is not a governmental objective. Do you still approve it?
My lord, I will put a note under that internal memo, on an internal memo. I will note, because there's a column for minister to take note of, or to make a note, a remark, put it that way, a remark, my lord. If that is happening, I will for sure put a remark and say, now, what is this all about? But I will have to sign it off. I have to. That was the way of the operations.
Okay.
Because of the other factors, which, for argument's sake, there are the right holders who are, in fact, who are supposed to get quotas
Okay.
in terms of their applications.
Okay. So you'd still approve it, knowing that it's not for governmental objective purposes, but just put a note and question what it is for.
correct. I will question it
All right.
under the internal memo.
In your time as you were the Minister of Fisheries, did you receive such a recommendation for quotas meant for governmental objectives being awarded to a political party?
No,
You never received it?
no, no.
Okay. During your time as the Minister of Fisheries, the PS in those communications never identified any political party as a beneficiary of governmental objective quotas.
My Lord, as I testified, I am not copied in on those letters that goes out to the beneficiaries or to right holders, if I have to put it that way. I never am copied on. So I cannot, in fact, shoulder anything pertaining to what was communicated by the PS to those beneficiaries.
All right. But insofar as the recommendation from the PS to you, there was never any stage where any of the PSs identified a political party as a beneficiary.
I have not seen that, my Lord.
You've never seen it. Okay.
Neither did I see even this letters that is communicated to the beneficiaries.
Okay. And is it also correct to say that from the time that you were minister, even with the receipt of disclosure, you've also not seen those letters from the PS identifying political parties as beneficiary of governmental objective
I have not
quotas?
seen those letters. I'm not copied on those letters, my Lord.
My question is, you've not seen them?
I have not seen them.
Okay.
I have not seen such letters. It's only in the disclosure. I, in fact, had the honor of a precedented insight of what was happening.
Okay. But now we are dealing with letters from the PS identifying the beneficiaries. Now this is on identification of beneficiaries. You've never seen any such letters where the PS, the former PS and both former PSs identified a political party as a beneficiary. Is that correct?
I have not seen such letters,
Okay.
my Lord.
Did they ever at any stage communicate to you as the Minister of Fisheries that the SWAPO party is a beneficiary of governmental objective quotas?
Did?
They ever communicate to you, the PSS who were there during your
No.
time?
No.
Okay, let me finish the question. I don't know if you had the full question. That the SWAPO party was a beneficiary of the governmental objective quotas. They never communicated that.
No, no, my Lord.
All right, so no one actually brought that information to your attention. Is that correct?
Correct, my Lord.
Now, where do you get this idea that it was the PSS who determined the beneficiaries, including the political party in this particular case?
My Lord, I have already testified that I was not even informed about the political party being allocated a quota by office of the PS. No.
Okay. So as far as you know to date, in the absence of such letters, you are not aware of any unlawful doings by the PS?
My Lord, I was not an investigator in the Ministry of Fisheries to determine the lawfulness of what he or she was doing in their office. I was not the police. I was not policing, in fact, that very matter.
And I'm asking you as the person who was the minister,
Yes, correct.
the person who had access to this information, the person who has received disclosure in this case. I'm not asking you as a police officer. I'm asking you as a person who was custodian of information at that ministry.
My Lord, I have testified. When it comes to information, I don't keep any registry of any quotas, rights, or licenses in my office. I never had that capacity.
Okay. So in instance, you agree that there is no information.
May I proceed?
As it please the court, your lordship. In instance, you agree that there is no information, written, verbal, or otherwise, that the PSS who were there during your time had unlawfully diverted these governmental objective funds.
I never had that kind of agreements or statements, whatever.
You just briefly touched on the letters from the auditors, Tier and Fenter. You also testified on those in evidence in chief. You recall those? The confirmation letters from Tier and Fenter.
Oh, sorry, my Lord. I was thinking of Deloitte's.
Oh, no. It's fine.
Yeah, I did testify on that, my Lord.
Are you aware that Mr. Ngipunya had also testified in relation to those letters? You recall, you know his evidence, yes? Okay. And what he testified was that the auditors, he called it audit reports or letters. Let me just inform you what he testified. He testified that the auditors prepared an audit report or letter for the minister to confirm he allocated the quotas. That was his evidence.
He what allocated, my Lord?
That you, the minister, you had to confirm that you allocated the quotas. Now, Mr. Mike's evidence was that the auditors prepared the audit report or letters for the minister, referring to you, to confirm that you allocated the quotas. Do you have a comment on that?
My Lord, I testified that the quotas, the beneficiaries, in fact, these are the beneficiaries that was allocated the quotas to. That's what I testified on, and that is what I've signed off on condition that those very beneficiaries are to be verified. That's what I testified. And 2017 one is also one of an example there where I testified that Mike Ngipunya came to my house on a Friday for me to sign off. I further testified in my evidence in chief that I don't want to be a bottleneck or a stumbling block in the financiation of the Fisco annual audited on annual financial statements, the financial statements of Fisco. That is what I testify.
Mr. Lutibezi, I don't seem to understand the question very well. As to the role of the auditors, you are saying they were preparing what?
And according to the evidence of Mr. Ngipunya,
Yes, Mr. Ngipunya.
an audit report or
Yes.
letter. He referred to it as an audit report, but it's a letter.
For the attention of the minister.
Yes, for the minister to confirm that he allocated the quotas contained in that letter.
This is like after the fact.
After the fact, yes.
Oh, okay.
You understood that?
Yes, I did. And I did respond to that.
Oh, okay. Now, in respect of those letters from the auditors, he in effect went further on and testified that he did not determine the third-party beneficiaries. So he could not be the one to sign off because he and the board are not the ones that gave the directives as to how it should be used. Do you have a comment on that?
My Lord, when I signed off this Gazette of Cooperation Agreement and the Gazette of designation agreement for Fisco, my Lord, there at the end of that very Gazette, it states that the chairperson is signing on behalf of the board, witnessed by Mike Ngipunya as the CEO. And I signed off, witnessed by another board member who was my PA, chair, my PA, she was also on the board of Fisco, that the designation of Fisco as a governmental objective entity, as a designated, yeah, sorry. Designated entity is responsible for this very governmental objective quotas. This is what that very, and for me, my trust was in the board, my trust was in the management, because two members of the board signed off as witness, one as a witness and the other one the chairperson of the board. James Hapikuliki.
All right. Do you still have those steering Fenta letters with you?
Yes, my Lord, I have them here.
Before you go there, Mr. Esau, you provided an affidavit in the bail proceedings, the lower courts, yes?
Yes, an affidavit.
Do you recall if you initialed that affidavit?
Don't have the affidavit with me here.
Okay. Do you recall if you signed that affidavit?
I think so, I signed.
It's an affidavit.
Yeah, it must be signed and then authenticated as well, I think so.
Yes.
But, no, I'm a layman, but I just signed.
Why did you sign that affidavit?
Because I want bail.
Oh.
I want to be, my Lord, I want to be considered for liberty.
That's the only reason you signed the affidavit, to get bail.
Because it was an application for.
All right. Did you perhaps, I'm just curious, sign that affidavit to confirm the truthfulness of the content of the affidavit? You are taking so long to think about this.
No. You see, I'm also trying to try to internalize this very question, my Lord, and to understand.
Maybe, yes. Be fair to the witness here, because I believe ordinarily for it to be an affidavit, it should be signed.
Yes, Your Lordship.
Yes. So then I hear you saying, why did you sign the affidavit? But your latter question, I thought it was appropriate to say whether he was confirming the truthfulness of the content thereof, but the signing aspect, one can't really tell where are you going with the question. Maybe just rephrase the whole aspect relating to the affidavit.
Yes, Your
so
Lordship.
that it's placed in context.
Yes, Your Lordship. In actual fact, that is the question I wanted to pose to him with regard to why he signed. Was it to confirm the truthfulness of the content of your affidavit?
Okay.
Do you need time to digest the question?
My Lord, the affidavit when I signed the affidavit. I signed it on the facts that was captured within the affidavit. The facts that I do have a case for consideration for bail. So that is what I have signed off, and that was my understanding.
All right. Going back to my question, were you also confirming the truthfulness of the contents of that affidavit when you signed it?
My Lord, I signed an affidavit. Sometimes it's very difficult to say that some of the facts were captured proper or not. Whether it was, my understanding was there was truth in the facts of what was there, to my understanding, because I'm a layman, and the facts are the ones, my Lord, that will determine whether I will get bail or not.
All right. So to a certain extent, indeed, you are confirming that what is written in the affidavit is correct.
My Lord, the affidavit was prepared by my counsel, and I have accepted because I have to put myself within my counsel.
You read the affidavit?
I read it, my Lord. I read the affidavit.
Well, I'm following. I would have thought the starting point is that whatever is in the affidavit, it's his. It's him saying that.
Yes, Your Lordship.
Maybe then the question, if that is established, then the question would be whether he verified or read through the content of the affidavit, and he was satisfied that that's his evidence or what he's saying.
As it is a court, Your Lordship.
Yes, because it almost started as if the question is creating an impression as if something was, the affidavit was prepared by someone else without his input or him participating, then whether he then confirmed what was said or what is written in the affidavit.
Yes, that's what it came out in his evidence.
Okay.
Yes, that was the evidence he's testifying to. I did not lead on that.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to find out if he confirmed. You read through that affidavit.
I have read about the affidavit, my Lord.
And you confirmed the contents of the affidavit.
My Lord, it's like I confirmed.
Okay. Do you have the letter from Steer and Fenton? Before I get there, you testified in your evidence that you signed these letters from Steer and Fenton, correct?
Correct, my Lord.
And what is the purpose of you signing any document? Not only these letters, signing any document.
My Lord, when letters are prepared or documents are prepared, reports are prepared by the management of the ministry or anyone who wants me to sign off, I will sign it off. I will sign it off. There is nothing, unless there's something suspicious. Sometimes I take note of, but not in fact concur. But I take note what was happening. I take note.
You'll just sign it off.
I will sign off when something is brought to me, like the Stee and Fender. I mean, Stee and Fender Associate.
So if you are provided with a guilty plea now, you'll just sign it off.
A what?
A guilty plea to the charges.
A guilty plea?
Yeah.
I will not. This one I will not, because I'm not, as I've stated already, as I've give evidence, I said that I will not plea any guilt on any indictment.
Yes. Because you would not agree with the contents of that plea, you will not sign it, yes?
My Lord, I will not sign an allegation. I will not sign an accusation. I will not sign it off.
Yes. Now, what I'm trying to bring out, Mr. Esau, is that if you don't agree with the content of a document, you would not sign it. Is that correct?
I will not sign it off, my Lord, because if I don't agree, I'm trying to.
Okay, I see. Yes,
I will not sign it, or I will sign it off. I will not sign it, or I will not. It's optional.
Okay.
And for me to sign it off, there must be a reason why I signed it off.
Okay.
And this very reason why I've signed off these documents of the Stee and Fender, if you go to the subject matter of these letters, it tells you a different story. That's why I said, when I signed these very letters or documents, or I was blindfolded, I was hoodwinked, what's it,
Hoodwinked.
hoodwinked, yes, in signing off things which I, in fact, was not really paying attention to the small, maybe things there which was written.
Okay. So are you saying that if you had read these letters in detail, you would not have signed them off
For sure.
because you don't agree with the content?
Because I don't agree with some of the content here. I never had time to scrutinize.
And how many letters by Stee and Fender were written to you?
I can see only 3. Eh?
3 letters.
I think 17, 18, 17, 18, and 19.
Okay. And you don't agree with the contents of all those 3 letters? Not even one?
Yeah, some of them no, because I have referred those letters for verification to those who keeps the records of rights, quotas, and licenses.
All right. Who are those people? The PS?
Yeah, PS and administration.
Okay. Now, with regard to these letters, Mr. Nipunya, he in actual fact relied on these letters to illustrate to the court that you are the one who determined who the beneficiaries were. Do you have a comment on that?
I have a comment, my Lord.
That is your comment?
My comment is I don't determine the beneficiaries.
All
It is
right.
very clear in these very letters that the beneficiaries were already paid even before this letters was brought to me.
Okay.
They were paid if you go to the tables of these very letters. Even the allocation of quotas were done post these very letters, after these letters. And I have demonstrated that, my Lord. And if I need still to demonstrate, I am ready to demonstrate that.
So from 2017, 2018, 2019, despite these letters coming after the fact, after payment, you did not do anything about it. You did not say anything about it.
My Lord, I have not scrutinized this very
All
issues
right.
here.
No, that is fine. Let's start off with the letter of the 3rd of February 2017. Do you have that with you?
Yes, my Lord, straight here, WW5.
WW5. And your signature appears at the bottom of that letter, correct?
Looks like my, yes.
And you are the one who wrote the date on that letter as well, correct?
Yes, my Lord, it's my handwriting.
And there are attachments which accompany that letter.
There is one.
Mhm.
I just have to make sure, my Lord, because there is one without a heading, but it is just saying beneficiaries, quota proceeds paid to beneficiaries retained by Fiscal. That's one. Two, there's an attachment, National Fishing Corporation Limited, quota allocations, 15 to 2015 to 2016 table, which talks about date allocated, quota 4, then it's hake, freezer wet, monk, lobster, and horse mackerel. Then another attachment that is now quota allocations, but Fishco, National Fishing Corporation. Quota sold, again Fishco heading, dates, agreement date, in fact. Then it goes on, company, vessel name, quota type, rendered, usage fees under rates. I don't know what's this one. AMT, don't know what's, maybe the tonnage is metric tons.
Mhm.
Invoice number. Then another one, which I said I took note of. Payments. And it goes on like that. I don't need to go into
Okay,
the
there are
further
several
because
of them.
just time.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I just want you to take us through the first letter. The others, I'll just refer you to particular portions where I need. But for the first letter, I just want you to convey. What was the title of that letter? This letter was-
Confirmation.
okay, before you start, to whom was this letter addressed?
Honorable Minister, Ministry of Fisheries, Marine Resources, Office of the Minister, Private Bag 13355.
And is this the letter that you say you received from Mr. Ngipunya?
He brought it to me
At
at
the farm?
home. I think, not at farm, at home.
At home?
Here in Windhoek,
Oh, okay.
Hoogland Park, on a Friday after.
On a Friday after.
Yeah, I was not in the office. I was at home. I was on my way outside, traveling out of town on the 3rd of that Friday. And he brought the thing to me, this letter. Said I must please sign because they have to finalize the audits of Fishco.
All right. And what is the title of this particular letter?
Confirmation of third-party quotas granted through the National Fishing Corporation, Fishco, and approval of the amount remaining to be retained by Fishco.
Okay. And the first paragraph, what does that say?
In connection with the 30th September 2016 audit of Fishco, we noted that Fishco received hake and horse mackerel quota from your ministry on behalf of third parties as well as for governmental objectives. We understand that there was a verbal agreement between the Honorable Minister and CEO that should there be any balance remaining from the proceeds of the third party quota, the balance should be retained by Fishco.
All right. Just stop there. Are you aware of such a verbal agreement between you and Mr. Ngipunya?
I can't recall, but it's captured in the letter here.
It could be.
Could be. I don't know whether I have really entered into a verbal agreement with my co-accused.
Excuse me, if you're
With my co-accused.
Oh, with your co-accused.
Yeah,
You
the
don't know.
co-accused. Yeah, I can't recall such.
All right. And then it continues. It says what? In light of...
Yeah, just a moment. In light of this, we have drawn up a schedule with the quota received from Fishco on behalf of third parties, which I believe is this schedule.
Yes. So that schedule was drawn up as a result of the verbal agreement between you and Mr. Ngipunya.
Not a verbal agreement between me and the verbal agreement referred here to was the balance,
Yes.
not the schedule.
All right. And then it continues, the total proceeds.
The total proceeds received by Fishco from the quota, the amount paid over to the beneficiaries, as well as the balance still in the hands of Fishco.
Okay. So there will also be a reflection of the amounts paid to the beneficiaries.
This schedule reflects this one.
All right. And the following paragraph, what does I say?
Attached schedules have been summarized on the next page. This is this one.
And then?
We will honor, will the Honorable Minister or his representative please confirm whether Fishco should retain the full balance or not? You can confirm directly to Stee and Fender, Associate Chartered Accountants, emails small b Fender.
Okay, there's no need to read the email address. What is important, what is reflected right thereafter, what is written there in that letter?
Honorable Minister agrees to the quantities of the quota shown as received by Fishco on behalf of third parties.
Okay. So we have to agree to these third-party quotas, the quantities of the third-party quotas reflected.
On the provisor that they have to verify. On the understanding, with the understanding that he has to go and verify where this is supposed to be stamped.
These letters were to be returned to Stee and Fender after you signed. Is that correct?
This is what the letter says.
It was to be returned to them.
Must be sent back. to
Yes.
them.
Is there any indication on these letters that Mr. Ngipunya has to verify any information?
I said that it must be verified because I don't keep, my Lord, a registrar. Neither do I keep a copy of letters that says that quotas have been allocated so much for such and such beneficiary. That is what I'm saying.
The question
That's what
again,
I'm testifying.
on the letters here, is there any such indication that Mr. Ngipunya has to verify so that you alert the auditors that there's still verification needed? Is there anything to that effect on these letters?
My Lord, I testified that I told him verbally that he should go and verify.
Okay.
He must take the letter back to because he brought the letter in hand to me, and I was, as I've said, I was not in the office. I had to tell him, take this letter back to the office. Go and check the PS. Go and see the administrators.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not the question of it being in the letter here. No.
All right. In your evidence, you testified with regard to the recommendations from the PS. If you don't agree with something, you put a note there. Is that correct?
I put a post-it pad, small post-it pad, with where I said, please check this and that. That's it.
Why did you not do this with these letters from Stee and Fender?
Where is the post-it pad? You don't. It's a kind of with glue at the back, which you put it there and somebody can take it off. I don't know. Why asking me that? Where is that very? I'm at home. I've got small. What's it? I put it with a clip, with a small thing. That's it. Go and check.
Excuse me. Are you saying you put something on these letters or not?
I said I've put things for check, especially those ones which were sent to me, but not brought to me in by hand.
Let's deal with this later.
Correct.
Was there any note that accompanied this letter?
This very letter of 2017, there was no note.
Oh, okay.
I told him to go to the office because I had trust. He's a CEO at the high level.
All right. And in respect of the other 2 letters as well, there was also no note. It was just a verbal instruction for the information to be verified.
The other 2 letters, my lord, those other 2 of 18 and 19. Was sent to me in a post bag. This A3 size of a blue sealed from the office and said, Honorable Minister, these are the letters which needs to be signed off. And it's on these letters where I've put this very post-it pad or a note to say, please go and verify these matters.
Oh, so on the other 2 letters, there was
Yes, the last 2, 18 and 19. So go and verify because I don't have records with me.
This note, to whom was it addressed?
No, it's sent to my office, to my the PA, because it comes through my PA. Because all correspondences are coming through the PA, and said, please check it out with PPE, check it with policy planning and economics, as in the office of the PS.
So it's your PA who was supposed to verify the information?
They have to send it there because she is my post box.
Or she has to send it to them to be
Yeah,
verified?
everything, as I've said, in my testimony, my lord, I've said that the job description of the PA is responsible for correspondences.
And you were in the office when you received these last 2 letters, correct?
I was not in the office.
Where were you?
I was home on my way to go to Cabinet Committee meetings, CCTET, Cabinet Committee on Trade and Economic Development, because Wednesdays we have those very Cabinet Committee meetings. And I was a member of that Cabinet Committee, and people are sending with the drivers this very things home for me to sign off and because I have other documents to read for those in preparation to those very meetings which I was attending.
So what you are saying from 2017, 2018, and 2019, you were always on your way out when you received these letters to sign?
My lord, I was 2 Wednesdays, as I've said. One, I was on my way out because it was a month end. I had to go to farm, I had to go and take rations and things, food for my workers. So that one of 2017. This 2 of 21 February 2018, I was on my way to Cabinet Committee meetings, for sure, and even the 19 one.
Okay.
That I can recall, my lord. Although I am as old as I am now, but I try to reflect on this one.
Okay. Now, just one last question on that aspect. After receiving the first letter late, you never informed your staff members and Mr. Ngipunya to ensure that the information in the subsequent letters is verified before it's brought to you?
I never, what? Can you
informed your staff members or Mr. Ngipunya to ensure in the subsequent letters that the information contained therein should be verified before it's brought to you?
Yeah, I have not, in fact, communicated that over to him.
Okay, you just signed.
You see, I don't want, as I've said, I don't want to be a bottleneck in the finalization of this very, since it comes from Stee and Fender, in this very, what we call audits, which was all reflected or captured in the first sentences of all letters.
All right. Now, the second last paragraph there, which starts with Honorable Minister, what does it say on that letter of the 3rd of February 2017?
17. The page back again. Honorable Minister, the last sentence, ne? The last sentence. Above approved by the Honorable Minister or his representative. That's what it says.
All right. Now, in instance, what we have here, even if it's after the fact, we have these letters from Steer and Fenton, which you signed, where you agree to the quantities of the quota received by Fishco on behalf of third parties. And you noted from the attachments that some of these payments went to the two law firms, correct?
My Lord, I said that in the attachments, the law firms there was not known to me. It was not known to me, and for me to have initialed some are not even initialed, where the names are coming. I don't know where these letters are coming from. In the attachments of this, they are not even initialed by myself. I can say that I have not seen some of these attachments. If you check the attachment in this 18 one as well, where DHC was getting 3 million, there's no signature of mine. So this thing was never came to me.
What never came to you?
This very one.
The attachment.
This attachment, not even initialed by
Okay.
me as well.
And
Not
you're
even
only,
seen.
Yeah, okay. And you're only noticing it now that it never
I
came
saw
to
it
you.
in the disclosure now.
Only now.
Yeah,
Okay.
the inside, unprecedented.
Is there any other documents from these letters of Steer and Fenton that you noticed never came to your attention? You are the one who presented these letters to the court. You are the one who had them submitted as exhibits.
The disclosure, because I picked it up from the disclosures.
Uh-huh.
Even here, Caesar Namanje, 2.5 million. It's not even, never came to me as well.
Okay.
There's no signature or whatever. DHC again, October, and I even didn't know even DHC, 80,000.
Okay.
DHC, yeah, payments made, quota payments. So, and that confirms again the fact that I have never directed or instructed anybody to pay.
Is there any reason as to why you did not inform the court about the absence of these letters in your evidence in chief, these attachments, that they never came to you?
In my evidence in chief.
When you presented this letter to court?
Just as a point of clarity, the witness did testify on that aspect. And the witness did indicate that some of them were not initialed by him and some of them he didn't even look at. There was an oversight on his part also. That was his testimony, as it pleased the court.
Yes, I think I had something to that effect,
As it is,
especially in respect of the attachments.
as it is the court, Your Lordship. I recall him saying that some of them he did not look at the attachments, he just signed the document. Okay, on the first attachment, where is your initial? That one, it says beneficiary quota proceeds paid to retained by.
I took note on the first attachment. I just initialed it as note taking.
Where's your initial?
This one. This one.
Okay. All right. Before I proceed with these letters, let me find out something from you. In your evidence yesterday, you testified that you were not aware of Wanakadu investment CC. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct, my lord.
And you heard about it for the first time when you received disclosure.
Correct, my lord.
Okay.
May I just find out what time are we going to break? At 11.
What time is it?
Okay. We still have some time. Are you still fine?
I want to take
proceed?
a break now, my lord, with your concurrence, my lord.
Okay.
Permission.
Maybe for how long?
Maybe for 20 minutes, just 10 minutes.
Okay.
You have to take
Let's
a while.
allow him that, and we'll be back at It's 11 o'clock.
As it is, Your Lordship.
We'll adjourn. may proceed.
As it please the court. Yes, Mr. Esau, if we can just put aside those Sterenfenter letters for a while, I'll come back to them now. You recall in your evidence yesterday, you testified in relation to the entity Wanakadu Investment CC,
Correct, my lord.
and that you only became aware of this entity in 2019 when the allegations in this cause arose, or when you received disclosure.
Coming away
When did you become aware of Wanakadu Investment CC?
the disclosure.
With disclosure.
With disclosure.
In the disclosed docket, you've come across letters from Mr. Mapopi and Mr. Ngipunya with regard to the provision of dried fish for purposes of governmental objectives, yes?
Yeah, in the disclosure, my lord.
Okay. And that this entity, Wanakadu Investment CC, was going to provide dried fish to Fishco
That's what I've
in
picked
the
up
disclosure.
in the disclosure. my lord.
Yes. And in natural fact, what you also have in the disclosure is that Fishco, in natural fact, paid Wanakadu $4,199,995. Is that correct?
In the disclosure, my lord.
Yes. And you also have in the disclosure evidence of how this money was distributed. It was received by Flamingo In-Flight Catering and
Yeah,
honored.
in the disclosure, my lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the allegations is that Mr. James Atukilipi is a director in Flamingo In-Flight Catering, and the order for the onward distribution of the funds, yes?
In the disclosure.
Yes, has contained the disclosure. And you've also seen from the disclosure that the entity, Flamingo Commodity Supplies, where Wanakadu allegedly sourced the dried fish, is a non-existent entity.
Unprecedentedly inside.
Yes, I
From
can
the
imagine. Were you
That's what I
shocked?
saw.
Were you
Out
shocked?
of my boots, my lord.
You were shocked out of your boots.
You see, this is what is happening in these transactions and things like that.
Yeah, okay. And you also noted in the disclosure that this dried fish was never received by Fishco, yeah?
In the disclosure, again.
Yes, it's contained therein. Now, has the Minister of Fisheries at the time, did you approve this transaction?
Not at all, my lord. I never approved transactions, as I said. I was not involved in micromanagement. So.
Were you aware of the purchase of this so-called dried fish?
Well, I was aware of the purchase of dried fish.
Yes, at the
It
time.
was only in the disclosure.
Oh, okay. Were you, I know you've partly answered the question, but were you aware of the distribution of these non-existent dried fish?
Not at all.
You were not. No. Now, insofar as you are concerned, were you contacted by Mike with regard to this dried fish
Not at all, my lord.
procured by Wanakadu? You were not.
No.
Were you informed that this fish should be handed over at a particular date by Mr. Ngipunya?
No, not at all.
No.
Dried fish. No.
No. Now, Mr. Ngipunya had indicated that there was a handing over ceremony in respect of this dried fish. You saw his testimony?
Correct, my lord.
All right. And he said that you, as the minister, had decided for the handover to be in Walvis Bay because there was canned fish to be handed over as well. Do you agree with that statement, that this dried fish from Wanakad was to be handed over in Walvis Bay?
I disagree.
Oh, okay.
What was the question?
I'm just putting to him the version of Mr. Ngipunya that the minister, Mr. Esau,
Yes.
had decided that the handover would be in Walvis Bay because they had canned fish to be handed over as well.
Okay.
So you said you are not aware of this.
I'm not aware of the dry fish.
In fairness to the relevance of the line of questioning and whether the allegations in the indictment relating to the dried fish, whether that aspect also touches on the witness, whether he's been charged with the dried fish allegations, because it would appear now that evidence is being solicited from the witness against his co-accused, particularly when the matter is not relevant for the purposes of the charges that the current witness is facing and the purpose for his bail on new facts. As it pleases.
Your Lordship, the evidence is relevant. What I mainly want to illustrate to the court is that the accused persons and co-accused persons, come trial stage, they will be pointing fingers at each other insofar as the evidence is concerned. I also want to illustrate that with regard to some of these transactions, the dried fish and other transactions, that's why I left the forensic reports. We'll come back to that at a later stage. I don't want him to preempt the nature of cross-examination because that is relevant in respect of the confirmation by this witness regarding governmental objective quotas, Your Lordship.
I hear that, but what I gather from your colleagues' objections to say that nothing of what you are putting to him or asking him is he charged of, or maybe what is the its connection to the charges that he faces before court. I understand him to say that evidence is just being solicited from him in respect of something that he's not going to answer to at the end of the day.
There are charges of corruptly using his office for gratification in the award of these quotas. There are letters from Steven Frente, which he wrote with regard to the award of these fishing quotas.
I believe that you dealt with without an objection.
Yes, Your Lordship, because there are different charges, but they all relate to more or less the same thing, even though they are subdivided into smaller categories. There are charges of racketeering. We have charges of racketeering,
Yes.
which is broadened over, covers all the accused persons in respect of basically all the charges. That is what racketeering is about. So all the other charges will somewhat be relevant to the others. And at the end of the day, Your Lordship, as I indicated, it's an issue of confirming governmental objective quotas, which were not meant for governmental objectives. And I also want to touch on the evidence of Mr. Ngipunya regarding what he said in connection with this particular witness. As it please the court, Your Lordship.
Mr. BMS?
My Lord, it's a fishing expedition. So Malena is trying to build his case against other accused persons. Even if it's racketeering, the racketeering must be linked. Now, if these are separate charges that relate to separate transactions relating to dried fish, for which the applicant, the witness in this instance, have not been charged with, there can be absolutely no relevance to his particular matter on the basis upon which he brought his application on new facts. All that Malena is doing now, like I'm saying, fishing expedition and playing the accused persons against each other, hopefully that he can use this then, at the end of the day, a trial against the parties. And that is clearly prejudicial, not only to this witness, but also to the other person that is not here.
Okay, thank you.
As it pleases the court.
Certainly, I believe that you appreciate the sentiments that your colleague is sharing. It will not be a problem where charges are relevant to all of them. So I would want you to concentrate mainly on his charges. That which he will not be asked to answer on, you may ignore for now, at least.
Yes, Your Lordship.
Yes, because it may not really assist us, or at the end of the day he may just be answering on something that he will not have to answer on.
Yes, Your Lordship.
Yes.
I'm also just looking at it from the aspect that we are dealing with a syndicate here,
That I understand.
wherein persons were using this same syndicate to abuse the governmental objective quotas. And there is one person at the head of this all who was responsible for identifying beneficiaries.
No.
Because it will eventually touch on the accused persons as well. Your Lordship, for purposes of bail applications, there's another important consideration that the court must consider, whether or not there's a likelihood the co-accused persons may implicate each other. That is something that has also to be considered by the court. And I also want to highlight that to the court, that that likelihood is there.
And that's what I'm saying, that's fine, and you'll be entitled to deal with that aspect in respect of any of the co-accused, but not when a person is not facing the charges.
Yes, Your Lordship.
Yes. Unless you believe that there seems to be a connection and you just want to establish and see whether there is something to that effect. But where you are really not charging someone with the offense, certainly it may only boil down to that witness only having to testify about, unless he is to be a witness in those proceedings. But if you are not charging him, that's all that I'm saying, that at least I understand. I believe that you appreciate your colleagues' sentiments and be guided by that.
I do appreciate it, Your Lordship.
Okay.
I do appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you,
But I
Mr.
just want him to comment
Yes.
on one aspect. What is your comment on this, that the minister, you had decided for the handover to be in Walvis Bay because there was canned fish to be handed over as well?
My decision or my position, my Lord, on the handing over of fish, dry fish, and canned fish, my position is that, my Lord, I was approached by Fishco CEO, and said that they want to hand over fish, canned fish, at a Tosha fishing factory, because that's where they have bought the canned fish for drought relief, for poverty alleviation, and this dried fish was now part of the handing over, but I never knew where it was sourced from. That's my comment. Whether it came from Walvis Bay, whether it came from another town, I never knew, and who was the suppliers of this dried fish.
And do you recall what kind of dried fish it was?
Hmm?
Do you recall what kind of dried fish it was?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I can't remember.
Did you see it?
I've never seen it even.
You never saw
I
it?
just, there was a picture in one of the newspapers where I was standing in with, I think, Mike and the former Deputy Minister of Poverty Eradication. I've forgotten her name now because she's no longer in the system. She was a pastor before. But we were standing there, and this dried fish was, not dried fish, but the canned fish was there. But I have not seen any dry fish in that very thing.
All right. Let's just go back to the letters from Steer Fenter addressed to you. Are you there?
Yes, my Lord, I'm there.
Okay. On that letter of the 3 February 2017. There's an attachment there, beneficiary quota proceeds paid to beneficiaries retained by Fishco. You are there?
Correct, my lord?
You said you initialed this page.
Yeah, initial this page.
Why did you initial this page?
Took note of what was attached to
Took
the
note
letter.
of what was attached,
Correct, my lord.
the contents of the document.
Yeah, because I took note of the retained amount. That was 6,436,968, which was on this very attachment at the bottom.
Okay, now in the 9th block, where it's written other governmental objectives, beneficiary, other governmental objectives, do you see that?
Is it other governmental objectives?
Yes.
Beneficiaries,
Yes,
from top to bottom.
yes.
Okay, I see that $1,000 metric tons.
And the proceeds 4.2 million.
I see there.
And how much was paid to beneficiary?
Yes, my lord.
How much was paid to beneficiary?
4,199,995.
And who was this beneficiary?
Well, I don't know, my lord, because it's not reflected in this thing.
Okay, and on the next page?
Quota allocations.
There's National Fishing Corporation quota payments.
Correct, my lord. Yes. Governmental objectives.
Okay. What is reflected in that?
12,000 government on the 30th of the 5th. See that one, my lord. I just want to get clarity.
There's a document which is written National Fishing Corporation Ltd at the top left,
Correct.
quota payments 2015.
Payment, okay, at the quota allocations.
Apologies, my lord. If my lord may just direct me to which page number is he on now?
May I also indicate where you refer to an exhibit, just indicate like WW5 which you dealt with, because that's how I'm recording.
As it is a court of worship. This is exhibit WW5.
Okay.
Do you have that document?
Yes, I have it, my lord.
And on 8th July, there's a payment date company paid.
Correct, my
Page
lord.
5. I'm informed this page 5.
See, I'm moving.
Wanakadu investment, dried fish.
Correct, my lord, I see.
All right. And for an amount of how much?
It's 4,199,995.
Okay. And what is indicated under the beneficiary?
Other governmental objectives.
Okay.
Is it 4,000 or 4 million?
4 million.
4 million, Your Lordship. Thank you. From your knowledge, were there any governmental objectives connected to this payment? When you signed this letter from Stay and Frente?
From my knowledge, there was no other governmental objectives.
Okay, so this portion should not have been included in the...
Correct, my lord.
Because this is wrong information.
Correct.
There was no governmental objective saved by this quota and this amount reflected therein.
To my understanding.
Okay.
To my understanding.
Okay, we've also dealt with the, I think you also testified on this in evidence in chief, on the document that is marked Horse Mackerel at the top, still on the same exhibit. The amount of 15 million that was paid to the law firm Sisa Namanje Trust. You testified about this, you recall?
Correct.
And you said it had nothing to do with governmental objectives.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Now, let's move on to the next letter from Stier and Frente. This should be exhibit WW6. Are you there?
Correct, my lord.
You signed that letter.
It's my signature.
On what date was it?
21/2/2018.
Okay. And that letter was addressed to you.
Correct, my lord.
Okay.
And to my recollection, this letter was sent from the office on a Wednesday to me at home in a post box bag. What's it, this bag? A plastic bag. A3 size.
Oh, okay.
Sealed.
Oh, okay. You received the attachments to this letter.
I received this one, which I initial to take note of.
Which ones are you?
The one immediately after the
Okay.
letter. The one quota sold from what's it from Fishco,
The one for 2016-2017.
correct? Again, a quota sold from Fishco. There's another one which was not even signed by myself.
Which one is that one?
The next after this is this one.
It's titled what? National Fishing Corporation Quota Payments 2016-2017.
Yeah, 16/17, my lord.
Okay.
Another one is, well, quota payments, page 2. This one.
What about
Also, from Fishco, quota payments, 16/17.
that? What about it? Did you receive it or not?
Not signed, it's not even initialed by myself.
Did you receive it or not?
I can't say that I have received it or not. I cannot testify on that.
Okay. Okay, so these
Let's say,
documents.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
This one as well. It's quite a number of pages. The following one as well.
Okay.
Yeah, let me stop here for.
Okay, so these documents that were not initialed, you are not in a position to inform the court whether or not you received them.
I cannot testify on those ones, my lord.
All right.
Let those who avail the documents testify on that.
Okay. Now, in respect of this letter of 2018, he reads somewhat different from the previous one. What does it say in the third paragraph?
The attached schedules have been summarized on the next page. Will the Honorable Minister or his representatives review the schedules and confirm approval of payments to the listed beneficiaries?
Okay. So what you are requested to do here, first you're supposed to review the schedules
Correct,
upon receipt.
correct, my lord. That is what this letter says.
And then after that, you're supposed to approve if you agreed with it to the listed beneficiaries.
Correct? That's what the letter
Now-
says.
All right. So what the letter requested you that once you've agreed to the listed beneficiaries, you had to sign the letter is an indication that you agreed to that. Is that correct?
My Lord, this is what the letter says.
Okay. So on the face value of this letter, when the recipient, the person who sent this letter to you, received this letter and it is signed, they can accept that what they've requested you to do, you've done, on the face of it.
From the face of it, yes.
Yes, because you've signed it, yes? Okay. And these were the auditors for Fishco. All right. Okay. Now you can move on to the paragraph that starts with Honorable Minister agrees. Or what does that say when you read
Agrees
that
to the
portion?
quantities of quotas shown by Fishco, as received by Fishco, on behalf of third parties.
Okay. So you also had to agree. You were requested to agree to the quantities of the quotas received by Fishco for the benefit of the third parties.
This is what the letter says.
Okay. And you signed the letter agreeing to that.
This is my signature, my Lord.
Yes. What I'm saying is you signed the letter agreeing to that.
I signed the letter with the understanding, my Lord, that with the proviso that this very signature, which I've put here, was not to be an obstacle in the finalization of the annual financial statements ending 30th of September 2017, the audits of those financial statements. That is the essence of me signing this very letter. And secondly, I was saying that when I signed this very letter, which was sent at my house on a Wednesday, that I'm signing this, it must be verified, because I don't keep records of quotas, I don't keep records of right holders, I don't keep records of licenses. All the particulars of that is vested in the office of the PS. So I trust you, go and verify these very things and get it stamped at the office, because I don't have a stamp of officialcy. I just signed it off. And this is what has happened even in 2019.
All right. And what was depicted, what were you requested in the next paragraph by the auditors?
Honorable Minister, the third one, Honorable Minister, allow Fishco and its subsidy to deduct the overpayment of 278, which I can see is also a difference of $1.
Oh, okay.
When I can see here now from the disclosure.
All right. You skipped a paragraph, just the one on top of that.
Which one? Oh, sorry, my apologies.
The important one.
The Minister agrees to the beneficiaries paid by Fishco using the proceeds of governmental objective quota.
Okay. So, in instance, you have to agree to the identity of the beneficiaries who were paid by Fishco in this case.
With the understanding that it must be verified. I agreed not to be a bottleneck, and I want to repeat that, not to be a stumbling block in the finalization of this, so as for them, Fishco CEO to go and verify these very matters.
Yeah, okay. And attached to that, there was a document titled National Fishing Corporation Ltd. Payments 2016-2017.
Correct, my Lord.
In the second paragraph, there's an indication of governmental objectives there. You see that?
Yes, let me get to the table.
Okay, that's fine.
Which governmental objectives?
It's titled National, at the top left corner, it's titled National Fishing Corporation Ltd. Quota Payments 2016-2017.
Quotas sold.
for 2016-2017. And then in the middle, it's horse mackerel.
I am not together here, my lord. Which tables are you with us? Yes. Okay, I am together with you, my lord.
Okay, you are on that page.
I am
All right. Under horse mackerel, who's depicted there as governmental objectives?
Swabo Party.
Okay, and the tonnage?
18,800.
Okay. Okay, so you've already indicated who's the beneficiary.
This is what is reflected here on this.
Has
Swabo Party.
Oh, okay. And according to this letter to the auditors, you had to agree to the beneficiaries paid by Fiscal.
Asked and answered, my lord.
And now I'm being particular which beneficiary it was. Initially, it was a general question about beneficiaries. Okay. Now it's about, we are dealing with a particular beneficiary, Your Lordship.
Oh.
As it plays the court.
You may proceed.
Do you have an answer to that, Mr. Esau?
On this one, there's no initial.
Okay, but you cannot say whether or not you received that letter.
I cannot say yes, I'm indifferent. I have not seen this. It came from Fishco. It was disclosed as a document from Fishco, and I cannot say that I have seen this one because I cannot see any acknowledgement or noted part of this very thing.
Okay. And then the last letter from Steer Fenter, the one dated 23 January 2019. Are you on that one?
Yes, thanks. The last one, trying to. Yes, I am there, my lord.
Yeah, okay. All right, we already dealt with this. You said that you confirmed that you signed this letter, yes?
Yes. My lord, I just want to take my lord back on this very, even the table, the table of that 18,800, which I have not initialed. There is in that table there is not even a date mentioned. The date of payment date. Company paid even is not mentioned there. It's quite blank, and I don't know. I just want to bring that. Yes, I'm now in 2019, my lord.
Okay. Are you at this particular letter?
Correct, my lord. I am there.
And in this letter, in the third paragraph, you also requested you or your representative to review the schedules and confirm approval of payments to the listed beneficiaries.
Correct, my lord. This is what it said.
Okay.
Which was brought on a Wednesday again.
Okay.
Everything is brought always the time when, and I was not in the office, I was at home, preparing myself for other activities, other meetings.
You said who brought these ones, the last two letters?
The last one was sent through, as I've said, that box mail back, which normally is sent from the office to me, with other documents as well, for signing.
Okay.
And it's brought by the drivers as well, my own drivers, from the office.
Okay, in this letter, you also signed this letter which depicts there that the Honorable Minister agrees to the beneficiaries paid by Fishco using the process of governmental objective quota. Is that correct?
Correct, my lord.
Okay. And then the beneficiaries are listed at the next page.
Correct, my lord.
And you signed those pages.
I signed them, yes, this one I signed.
Yeah.
Yes, my lord.
You've already testified on the governmental objectives, being the National Fish Conservation Trust and drought relief.
Correct, my lord.
What governmental objectives were you confirming for local investments?
My lord, I want to refer our courts to my annual addresses.
Mhm.
It's in which file? That year, 2017, 2018, a number of rights came to an end, fishing rights companies. And I highlighted that in my annual address, that address that was prepared for me to go and read to the industry. I testified in my evidence in chief. And the officials of the Ministry of Fisheries and the officers of the PS, they in fact allocated quotas to entities whose rights came to an end. And they know that they keep a record of right holders, of quotas, as well as licenses. A registrar, I've said 43(1). And this very names here, which were appearing on the steer and fender report, for sure I would not know. I don't have a record. And this, my lord, was included in, governmental objective quotas was allocated by our management staff to this for the benefits of this ones. And when I received this very letter, I said, go and verify, because I don't keep records of rights, quotas, and things like that. And I know, to my recollection, my lord, I was told by the management of the Ministry of Fisheries and the Office of the PS that if we don't allocate, if there's no allocations for governmental objective quotas, there would be unemployment. I think I testified that as well. And the investments that those companies have done, those right-holding companies, would also be an issue, and we will have a serious issue. That is what I testified. So on the basis of that, they told me, no, these things are fine. They have to be, but I know in the back of my mind, in my subconsciousness, that governmental objective quotas are to be directed from cabinet. That I know.
Okay. And are you aware if there was any directive from cabinet for these other governmental objectives?
I was not aware. I was not aware, my lord.
Okay.
I testify that.
Okay.
I was not aware.
All right. I know we dealt with this on the first letter, but in respect of all the letters, you appreciate that on the face of these documents, taking into consideration you signed these documents, that you are agreeing that the persons who were benefiting from governmental objectives were the correct beneficiaries. You are agreeing to the...
Can you come again?
Okay.
Because I am not sure.
Maybe let me rephrase it. That you are agreeing to the beneficiaries listed therein, paid by Fisco, as entitled to the governmental objective quotas.
The letter says the minister agrees.
Yes. On the face of the documents, that's what...
On the face of the
Yes.
document.
And there's nothing else in writing indicating otherwise.
I have, as I've stated, my lord, I have signed these letters not to be a stumbling block or a bottleneck in the finalization of this very annual financial statements
So
of Fishco. That was in fact the essence of my thing, and that's why I've said sign, go and verify. Go to the officials of the ministry who are responsible for the registry. Go to them. Go to them who are responsible for receiving applications for quotas as delegated by the then minister on 2001 in terms of the regulations pertaining to the harvesting of marine resources. Go to them because they are the authority. They know at least what's going on.
Okay.
Because as I've also testified in my evidence in chief, I said that, my Lord, the trust I have with this very high level appointees, the management, CEO, the board, because the board is supposed to be accountable. I mean, the management is supposed to be accountable to the board.
Okay. So, looking at these documents, you appreciate that when the trial starts, an explanation will be required from you as to why you signed these letters indicating that you are agreeing that these are the beneficiaries of governmental objective quotas, yeah?
My Lord, I am here for an application for bail. When the trial starts, my Lord, for sure the basis of my defense for sure will be informed of what I'm saying today, what I'm testifying today as well.
Oh, okay. Because in the absence of your testimony, if you don't testify, and there are these letters which say that you agreed to the beneficiaries of governmental objective quotas who were unlawfully awarded those quotas, if you do not testify, you know there's a very high likelihood of conviction.
My Lord, that is quite argumentative, and I think this is an aspect that should be left for argument between the parties, because those letters might not even be admitted into evidence at the end of the day, as it pleases the court.
Yes, I'm just putting it to him, the state's version. I know we'll come and
Okay.
argue it at the end of the day. If he has a comment on that, I think he can comment. If not, there's no need for him to comment, Your Lordship. But I just want to put the state's version because we allege, for purpose of the bail application, that we have a strong case against the applicant.
Okay. I've also taken note of your objection. I'll allow the question.
As it pleases the court, Your Lordship. Do you have an answer, Mr. Esau?
Repeat your question,
Oh, okay.
just to recap.
You appreciate that in the absence of your evidence, these letters which you signed, where you agreed to be the beneficiaries of governmental objective quotas, and you also agree that these quotas were unlawfully awarded to some of these beneficiaries. If you do not testify to explain this, there is a likelihood that you'll be convicted.
My Lord, I am testifying today and even yesterday that I will not plead guilty on the allocations of quotas to non-right holders, because I am not allocating quotas to non-right holders. I am, in fact, signing off the internal memos which are recommendations of quota allocations. And whatever happened here was not my directives. It was not my instructions. to pay quotas, to pay, in fact, this very beneficiaries. What I did only, as I've said, I signed this very documents to not be in the way of the finalization of the audits, the annual financial audits of Fisco. That is, in fact, my departure point of this very matter.
Okay.
So I will not plead guilty today or in the future for having diverted funds.
All right. You also testified in relation to your assets that you own a farm, Dakota.
Mhm.
You recall that?
Correct, my lord.
Who in particular owns that farm?
It's me and my wife.
Okay. Are you okay?
Because of marriage.
Yes. And you are the sole owners of the property, is that correct? You and your wife?
Yeah, me and my wife.
Okay. So, subject to the Namibian laws, you can alienate the property as you please without seeking consent from relatives.
It's not a family, it's not a farm
Mm-hmm.
that was bought or acquired by families.
Okay.
It was acquired through an agri-bank loan,
Okay.
a affirmative action loan scheme.
Okay.
AAL loan.
And the house in Hockland Park?
It's also me and my wife owners.
And similarly, you can also dispose or alienate of it as you please without any consent from any relatives, huh?
My lord, it applies the same on farms or any other property.
Okay. Mr. Temson Atiguilipi is your son-in-law in this case.
Married to our daughter.
All right. And from your evidence, has he done any improvements on the farm?
I gave him permission,
Mm-hmm.
and my children, especially him and his wife and my children, son, if they want dwellings, they can put up their own dwellings there. And they did that.
What exactly did Mr. Temson Atiguilipi build at your farm?
Thompson, Atukilu, yes,
Is the surname?
yeah, it's a little bit with water.
Okay.
He built a dwelling, sub-dwellings.
Sub-dwellings?
Yeah, sub-dwellings.
How many?
2.
What are sub-dwellings?
We have a main dwelling, my lord, that belongs to me and my wife. And that is the one which was there before they have built theirs.
Okay. Now, when you refer to 2 sub-dwellings, how many rooms were there in these dwellings?
My lord, they had, when I went to look at the construction, I mean the dwellings, after they have finished, it was 3.
3 rooms?
3.
3 rooms for each dwelling?
Yeah, per dwelling, that sub-dwellings. 3 bedrooms, in fact.
Okay.
That way, yeah.
And who was staying in these, both these sub-dwellings? They have 3 rooms, each 6 rooms.
Yeah, it's them and their kids.
How many kids do they have?
They have 2, a boy and a son, my daughter and a husband.
They're occupying all 6 rooms.
No, one of the dwellings, the sub-dwellings.
Okay.
The other one belongs to my son.
Which son?
My son. I have only one son.
Okay. All right. So in instance, they also build a dwelling for your son at the farm.
Well, that's their arrangements between them and their son, because I told them, this plot is for this part is for my son, and this one you can put your thing there.
And when were they built?
Phew. 2017, something there.
Okay.
I think 2016, 2017.
All right, somewhere around there.
I think so. Yeah. But I know that it was 17 as well, around about 17.
2017.
Correct, my lord.
Okay. Now, where did he get the money to build those dwellings? Do you know?
My lord, when my son-in-law came his family came to us for the marriage of our daughter. He was introduced as a businessman. He's self-employed. He's a self-employed somebody. So because we were asking now, where are you working, where are you from, and things like that. So he was introduced by his people. He's a businessman, he's doing his own businesses and things like that. So I never went into the details of what businesses he owned. I don't want to go into things which are not of interest to me.
So I take it then that you did not inquire as to where he received funds to build these dwellings at your farm, huh?
My lord is a businessman. And a businessman is there, the cognitive objective is to make profits and to make money out of the business.
No.
This is my layman's understanding. I was not a businessman. I was a politician.
Okay. In your initial bail application in the Magistrates Court, you conducted that bail application together with your son-in-law, Mr. Temsana Tukilip, is that correct?
Correct, my lord.
And both of you submitted affidavits to the court?
Correct, because we had one lawyer, one counsel.
All right. Explaining those affidavits, your involvement, if any, in these matters.
Correct?
Explaining in those affidavits what your role,
Correct.
if any, in this matter is.
Correct, my lord.
Okay. And you are aware of the allegations as contained in the docket that governmental objective funds derived from the governmental objective quotas, as you already testified, were transferred to the law firm DHC, and that they were also, are you also aware that they were further peddled to a certain entity called Silex Investments as contained in the disclosure?
I testified.
No. The second part.
Silex.
Okay, let me cut it in pieces. You testified that you became aware that the governmental objective funds derived from governmental objective quotas were laundered to the law firm DHC. Is that correct?
My lord, after the...
Were paid.
Objection. Yes, just the word laundered. That was not the testimony. I know my learned friend is stretching it a bit here.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Yes, he did not use the word launder, indeed. Let me rephrase. Those funds were unlawfully paid to DHC.
My lord.
My lord, objection. The witness also did not say unlawfully paid. The witness just said that he realized that funds were then paid to Silex. That's all. That's the crux of his testimony, as it pleases.
No, Your Lordship. In cross-examination, I reminded him what he had said in the examination in chief, that the transfer of those funds to DHC were unlawful. That was the way they used in examination in chief. And when I brought it up in cross-examination now, when he was talking about it being unprocedural and so on and so forth, he still confirmed that, yes, it is unlawful. So that is his evidence, and I can put that to him, that those funds were unlawfully transferred to DHC.
Yes, from the evidence presented, you'll be entitled to put that to him. He can still answer the question.
As it plays the court, Your Lordship. That was your evidence, right?
My lord, I, in fact, testified that I became aware of funds being paid into DHC before even I knew DHC. That's what I've testified. I never knew DHC.
Okay.
I never knew Maren or who Maren declared.
Okay.
I never knew Silax. I
Oh.
never knew such kind of outfits or entities.
All right. Now, you noted from the disclosed docket that the funds were paid, laundered to Silax Investments. Did you notice that?
My lord, the word laundering or laundering funds to these entities which he mentioned, THC or whoever. I was not aware until the time that the disclosure came about.
That
Until,
is the question, yes.
yes, until the time
All right.
the disclosure was made.
Okay. I just want to,
And that has, in fact, changed the perspective.
excuse me?
That has changed the perspective of this case, these allegations, these indictments leveled against me.
Change the perspective, your perspective.
Well, the perspectives of the facts, the new facts, which
Um,
came, because the new facts came out from the disclosure.
Okay. How has it changed?
How it has changed, how it has changed the perspective.
Mm.
It overrode, in fact, the old facts was overwritten by this new disclosure.
How?
That funds were transferred to DHC.
Mhm.
Mm.
Is that the new fact you're referring to?
That's a new fact.
Were you not aware of that in the initial bill application?
My lord, I was, in fact, when they testified there, they said funds came. I was not aware before that. But when evidence was brought through through affidavits, that's when I became aware of that.
We called witnesses to testify in the...
Correct.
We
my
did
lord.
not use affidavits. We called witnesses.
Yeah, witnesses testified, my lord.
That's
Yeah.
when you became aware of it.
That is when I became aware that what was happening.
Okay. And you had an opportunity to give instruction to your lawyer at any stage. Is that correct?
I was shocked out of my boots that time when I heard that.
Yes, that's not the question.
No, you said instructions because I was shocked. I said, this is my personal, what came out. My reaction, my personal reaction was I was shocked to see what happened,
Oh, okay.
which I was not, in fact,
All
party
right.
to.
Yes. Now you became aware of the evidence when our witness was testifying. You had an opportunity to instruct your lawyer on your version, isn't that so? If you wanted to. In fact, there were versions being put by Mr. Metcalf on your behalf to the investigating officer. You don't recall that?
My lord, I had to internalize to understand what really was going on here. So I cannot, in fact, go and continue testifying or instruct my lawyer because I had to internalize and to understand what was really going on. And if you don't understand, how can you instruct on something that you don't understand, my lord? You cannot give instructions on something that you don't understand. I am a layman. I was not, in fact, involved in the management, in instructions, directing monies. I was not there.
Oh, okay.
So I cannot give any instructions or directives to my counsel.
All right. But we appreciate you duly represented by Mr. Metcalf and Mr. Bieke's Advocate Metcalf, not Mr. Advocate Metcalf, during those proceedings.
I was represented by him.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I just want you to briefly have a look at the affidavit of Mr. Temson Hatukuilipi. I don't know who can I give him directly, Your Lordship? I don't see the court order is here. But I do not want to. Okay. Okay, no, you can give him. Yes, you recall he had provided, unfortunately I just have that copy, Your Lordship, with me.
No, it's fine.
You recall Mr. Hatukuilipi had provided an affidavit, yeah?
Correct, my lord.
And you recall that is his affidavit?
Yeah, I can let me for.
Now, what does it say from paragraph 95 to 98 of that affidavit? It's towards the end.
95. Yes, I am there from the Fishco case.
What does it say? Just
He said, I do not know who Silax Investment or DHC Incorporated. What I know about it is what is reported in the local press. However, I can confirm that indeed monies were paid into JTH Trading CC, Erongo Clearing and Forwarding CC from Silax Investments and DHC Incorporated. This is now para 95. Para 96, the said funds are the subject of a loan transaction between my cousin Hatukuilipi and I. James and I would regularly loan each other monies and repay each other. It's paragraph 96. 97, during September 2017, James instructed Silax Investments to pay 1 million Namibian dollars to my CC. JTH Trading and a further 1 million to Erongo Clearing and Forwarding CC. These payments were made to me on the instructions of James after I borrowed him through his CC Greyguard 500,000 in March 2017, and then it's point comma 1 million Namibian dollars in April 2017, and a further 1,250,000 in August 2017. Next sentence. I made the payments through two of close corporations. I think it must be of his close corporations. I unfortunately do not have full access to my bank accounts, being incarcerated, and can therefore not provide a full account of the funds loaned and repaid, but recall that we regularly loan each other funds. That's paragraph 97 98, I think I'm just reading this.
The last paragraph, please.
I approached James for a loan in February 2018, it's para 98, whereby he instructed DHC Incorporated to pay me 2 million. In March 2018, I refunded him 1.9 million from JTH Trading Company, CC, and paid it over to Greyguard, which James designated. I at no point in time knew of the source of funds that was paid into the account of DHC Incorporated or Silax Investments. I earnestly believed that there was nothing untoward. As James borrowed me the monies, I refer to the confirmatory affidavit of James Atwikulipi in this regard, annexed here too.
Okay. All right, thank you. May I just set that back?
Is it the 99?
No, the entire affidavit, please.
Can I read 99 as well?
You want to read it? If you think
because
it's...
it's highlighted here as well. Under this. It's
Mr.
allowed.
No, it's not.
One asking questions.
It's not necessary.
Okay.
You can bring it. I thought you deemed it necessary for your response. Okay, thank you. Okay, so you can appreciate from the affidavit of your son-in-law that he was a recipient of funds from Silax Investments and DHC.
I have not received any funds
Not-
from Silax, neither from DHC.
Not you, your son-in-law. You appreciate from his affidavit he was a recipient of funds from Silax and DHC.
I cannot testify on behalf of my son-in-law because bail is individual. Testimony is individual.
Okay.
There is no way that I was in cahoots or in whatever way with my son-in-law or with James Atwikulipi or any other accused. So I cannot testify on that, my lord.
Okay.
And I stand on that.
All right. Mr. James Atwikulipi provided a confirmatory affidavit to this affidavit. You recall that?
This is what is said in his affidavit.
Yes, and in fact, he did provide a confirmatory affidavit confirming what Mr. Thompson was saying.
Well, that's between him and Thompson Atwikulipi, the cousins.
Okay. You are not in a position to dispute Mr. Thompson Atwikulipi's evidence that he received funds from Silax and DHC.
My lord, I cannot testify on behalf of Silax. I cannot testify on behalf of DHC. I cannot testify on behalf of my son-in-law. I cannot testify on behalf of James Atwikulipi.
All right. No, it's fine. It's what it is. That is the evidence that is there. Payments of loans, repayments of loans, as indicated in this affidavit of your son-in-law. That has nothing to do with governmental objectives, does it?
My lord, I cannot testify whether it's governmental objects or whatever other money was paid from DHC or from Silax. I don't know where that money, in fact, emanated from. I've said that DHC was a law firm. They had their trust accounts. They had their clients. They had whatever, where they are, in fact, getting funds from or payments from. So I cannot testify on behalf of those or confirm or whatever matter. So I cannot, my lord, I don't want to be dragged into things which I was not party to.
Mr. Esau, as the Minister of Fisheries,
Correct.
you know what are governmental objectives.
On directives of cabinet.
Okay. These repayments of loans, personal loans, as depicted in this affidavit, does this have anything to do with governmental objectives?
My lord, in as I've stated, I don't testify on anyone, on behalf of anybody. And I want to repeat that again. I cannot testify on behalf of my son-in-law. I cannot testify on behalf of James, his cousin. I cannot testify on behalf of DHC. I cannot testify on behalf of any entity which I don't have any interest in. I cannot testify on that.
All right. So in 2017, this son-in-law of yours receives funds from DHC, he receives funds from Silex. In 2017, he builds not one, but 2 dwellings at your farm, which you have full control over. Is that right?
Yes, they built 2 dwellings.
Oh, okay, but then you don't know where that money came from.
My lord, I said he was a businessman. The son-in-law, as introduced to me, was a businessman, and whatever he did, I was not interfering in anybody's business. I told you yesterday where my interest was. I testified that, my lord. I said my interest was the farm. I gave permission for them to build 2 dwellings on the farm. Wherever he is getting the money, there was no report of criminal activity that money was stolen to build those 2 dwellings.
All right.
And whatever I did on the farm for me and my wife and my family, money, I know where I get my money from. As I said, sales, proceeds from sales of cattle, my salaries, my S&Ts, my savings that I had.
Okay. Mr. Esau, through Ocharongo Plot 51 CC, you're a member of that CC with your wife, is that correct?
100%, my lord. I was a member with my wife of a CC, Chivarongo Plot 51. Which came out from the disclosure again, that name, Chivarongo Plot 51 CC. It came out from the disclosure.
Okay, and in actual fact, you did not disclose this asset to the court in your initial bail application, is that correct?
I did not disclose that, my lord.
Okay.
I did not, because I never knew what is the name of that entity called Ochivarongo Plot that time. It came out from the disclosure and the affidavits or the evidences, the testimony, the witnesses of the state that investigations who came and said, this is a CC.
Okay.
The name was not even known because I never gave a name.
Ocharongo Plot 51 was not known to you.
Sorry?
What name was not known?
Ochivarongo Plot 51 CC. That name was not known. It's not given a name to any CC.
When did you come to know this name?
Disclosure.
Oh, when you received disclosure.
Yeah, when the disclosures came, I said, oh, this is the name called Ochivarongo Plot CC 51.
You remember we submitted exhibits in the Magistrates Court regarding
Correct,
this
my
plot?
lord. I remember.
You remember we submitted the funding statements
Correct, my lord.
for the CC
Correct, my lord.
and the members?
Correct.
All right. You remember we submitted the purchase agreement?
The offer.
Yes.
Yeah. Remember,
Which
my
you
lord?
had signed
Yes, I signed.
with your wife.
Correct, my lord.
And you remember also submitted email communications
You submitted email communications,
Yes.
yes, my lord.
involving the conveyancers, Mr. De Klerk, and at some stage you also CC'd BM Dakota Fund.
Which I can really say now, my lord, that very correspondence, there was no confirmatory that I have received it, although it is CC on me. But I have not, as I said, I had a problem with my Gmail address because I feel that it was hacked. The Gmail was hacked, in fact, and I could not, and I had the iCloud address. I testified that.
Okay, I think this is now a
Yes.
new fact.
No, it's not a new fact.
When was it hacked?
My lord, I could not open that thing, the Gmail. I could not open the Gmail.
Since when?
You know, since it was some time back, that was around about 2018, 29, 27, 17, 18, that's what my recollection. I'm trying to go back, but there was an issue of my emails and Gmail was hacked. It was hacked.
Okay, we've dealt with this issue extensively in the Magistrates Court. The exhibits are before court.
Correct.
I don't want
I
to
saw that,
regurgitate an issue which is already dealt with. But you noticed from the forensic report that this Ochuarongo plot 51cc, which was purchased, there were funds emanating from CELAX and from DHC in excess of 1.2 million.
My lord, without my instructions, without my directives to pay for a plot. And I was saying that in my evidence in chief, we had the money to pay for that plot. I mentioned it that in my bank account, and I can provide proof of that I had enough money to honor that one. And I was waiting for invoicing to be sent to me.
Okay. So at the end of the day, there's independent evidence. Okay. You also do not dispute, maybe before I get there, you do not dispute that this money in excess of 1.2 million, which was paid from CELAX Investments and DHC, was money derived from governmental objective quotas as found by the forensic report.
Lord, can I? To my knowledge, to my experience of transactions, let me put it this time. Whenever you purchase something, like maybe you purchase a vehicle from X motor dealer, this very vehicle that you purchase, if it costs, let's say, 100,000 Namibian dollars. Now, in that 100,000 Namibian dollars that you pay, there is always a component of maybe commission. Commission is built up maybe of 5,000, and which means 95,000 is for the price of that commodity, that item. When you transfer or when you transact, the money will be 100,000 that was paid. And when it will be written as maybe purchase of vehicle, when they transfer the 5,000 to somebody who was supposed to earn a commission on that money, it can also come as purchase of vehicle. So I am not, my lord, in a position to testify on behalf of those who paid money on the plot, whether it came from governmental objectives or whether it was a commission or whatever. I'm trying to explain this very issue. And I cannot testify on behalf of CELAX. I cannot testify on behalf of DHC. I cannot testify on behalf of those. But I'm just trying to illustrate that you can have miscellaneous expenses. But in the miscellaneous expenses, there are expenses that are maybe supposed to be somewhere for something else. And that's where at the end of the financial year or anyway, any time, you have to go and validate that very amount that was paid. I'm just trying to explain, just give you the practical illustrations of this very. So I don't want to testify on behalf of those, because I don't have. I never had links between me and DHC on the payments of that amount of monies on the plot. No, I was waiting for an invoice to me to be sent by those whom I said they can do the conveyancing in this DHC. I mean, Maren de Clercq.
Okay. I appreciate you will not testify for others.
No. I will never, my lord.
What I'm putting you does not change. That from the evidence gathered, you cannot dispute it, that over 1.2 million, which was used for the purchase of that property, which came from Silax Investments and DHC, was part of the funds from governmental objective quotas. You cannot dispute that.
I dispute it because, my lord, the evidence is not credible. Evidence was not credible enough.
All right, so you dispute that this
I dispute that because I was never given an opportunity even to be interviewed on that very matter.
Okay.
I was never given neither by Deloitte or who's this, the auditors, because that's why they are saying it's a disclaimant as well.
Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Esau.
Yes, my lord.
Since you are disputing it, where did it come from, the money? You are smiling.
I'm smiling because the question, I will answer. I will answer.
Yes.
Where did the money come from?
If it's not governmental objective funds.
It came through, my lord, the disclosures, as I've said. The disclosure said that this money, those ones who were investigating this very matter, came with the evidence, which is not credible, to say that these monies are coming from governmental objectives. I don't know whether they have offloaded or gone into the detail of that governmental objective monies. I don't know.
You are aware that bank statements of these entities were obtained and analyzed.
I saw bank statements under the disclosure.
Flow of funds were also analyzed.
Flow of funds was analyzed.
Yes.
I saw that from Selma.
Yes.
The accountant, accountant from auditor.
And I'm putting it to you that the money which was used to pay for that plot, 51, was derived from governmental objective quotas.
My lord, as I've testified, the money that was received by DHC was never directed by me to go to DHC, whether through Fishco or whether through this Sameri, Samherji, the Icelandic. I never directed money for that. What I did, my lord, in this very situation I was introduced for a will. I was introduced for a family trust by Saki in November 2017. And at that very occasion, when I was introduced for the will and for the for the trust, the family trust, I shared in the discussions with Maren that I have a house, I have a plot, I have some other assets, and I want to buy a property, plot, in Ochivarongo. And he told me that, because I told him that that very plot must be, I want it to be under the family trust, because I want my assets also to be transferred at the end of the day to a family trust. he told me that the trust takes a long time. I think I testified that as well. It will take a long time for you to register to get a trust. Here is this founding statement for a CC, blank, which I took it home. My wife and I signed 50-50 ownership of this very thing. I brought it back in an envelope, put it in an envelope with with my copy of my birth certificate. I mean, not the birth, the marriage certificate of my wife and I. And that very matters was taken to I dropped it with the signed offer of 1.7 million for that plot. And I dropped it there. He was not there. I dropped it just at the reception there. And I left. And I said, well, I will hear from him in terms of that. I was not aware of any monies, that time even, paid as governmental objectives into DHC as well as to whatever CLAPS entities. And I also testified that I was waiting to be invoiced. That's it. And I was waiting for the invoice to come and for me to do the necessary arrangements to pay for what I have committed myself to pay to. Because I had the money and I was saying, I have proof of the monies, I have proof, and I can even provide it now. Because I hope it's here in my files here, of the funds I had to pay. Because I cannot take a decision of buying whilst I don't have money. That's the state of affairs on this very plot.
Yes, no, I understand your evidence that you did not authorize payments to DHC. But do you dispute that the payment for this plot was derived from governmental objective funds?
I am not in the full understanding, my Lord, of monies that was earmarked for governmental objectives that was sent to DHC. I testified on that one already. I was not in the full understanding, and I cannot confirm that very thing because, as I've said, through the disclosure, an unprecedented insight came about funds that was, in fact, described as governmental objectives. To put it that way, described as governmental objectives that was channeled or paid into DHC. That was only when the disclosures came. Okay. And when I was applying for my bail in the court Aqua.
Okay. You just testified that you had to send the registration documents for Ocharongo Plot 51.
What document?
For the CC.
What documents, my Lord?
Registration documents. What documents were you referring to?
I was signing the offer, the deed of offer, deed of purchase, deed, what they call title, something like that. I don't have the heading now here.
Okay.
Yeah, but I signed that one because I wanted to buy that plot. I wanted to invest in property, in that property.
Okay.
And I signed the founding statement of a CC.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was not even completed as well, some of it.
What was missing in it?
The CC, the name. In the CC was the name.
Okay.
And even the what do you call it, the auditors or accountants for me, where else I know my accountants were Grand Namibia, not that which was put in there.
Okay. At the time, in 2000, in what year was this?
17.
Okay.
2017, my Lord. My Lord, just because sometimes I forget the 20, I said 19, I think sometimes. Maybe backward.
2017, yes.
Yeah, 2017 November, around about November month.
Yeah, around about November.
Yeah.
Okay. How much money were you having at the time?
You know, accumulatively in the banks, Nedbank, Standard Bank. I don't want to put, I think Bank Windhoek as well, but those ones I had already 2.9 million cash.
That you could use to purchase?
Yeah, to pay that 1.7.
Okay, this was around the time that you were offered. Now, can you explain to me, why did you tell Mr. de Klerk you don't have money at the moment, he must wait?
Because one of my accounts was a call account, and I had to give 30 days notice with that bank.
Okay, but the money was available.
It was available, my Lord.
So it's not an issue of you
It's
did
not
not
an
have
issue,
money?
yeah. Money was available. Now I'm restrained even, provisionally, not even.
Excuse me?
I'm restrained to access my funds.
Oh, okay. Mr. Esau,
Yes, my Lord.
you appreciate that with the evidence at hand, which illustrates that governmental objective funds were paid to the law firm DHC, further laundered to Silax Investments, and some of the funds were used to purchase a plot in a CC where you and your wife has an interest. You appreciate that those are serious allegations, yeah?
My Lord, if funds were paid from DHC and from Silax, without my knowledge, my Lord, without my knowledge, I will not shoulder any blame. I will not shoulder any blame for a decision taken, not by me, neither will I shoulder a blame that I have directed or instructed payment.
Oh, okay. So are you aware or do you appreciate that when the trial comes, you'll have to come and explain how you acquired this Ochuarongo plot 51?
Correct. I'm ready as ready can be
You'll
to come and explain how I acquired that very plot.
Oh, okay. So you come and testify to exonerate yourself to show that there was nothing unlawful from your side?
From my side, there was no decision, there was no instruction, there was no directives to pay.
All right. Your Lordship, may I just request for an adjournment? Perhaps you can proceed.
Maybe before that, regarding this plot, and from the evidence he's giving, I'm not sure if it has an owner. Are you saying that he's the owner of the plot?
The CC, Ochuarongo plot 51, owns that plot and he has an interest in the CC.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Your Lordship.
All right. Just to clarify one aspect, if I recall well in your evidence in chief, to Mr. de Klerk, you never went back to him or you never made follow-ups
Correct, my Lord.
because you became busy or you engaged.
Correct, my Lord.
And so you did not revert back to him until you learned through the bail proceedings that the plot was now purchased
Holiday
also.
purchase, yeah, paid for. Yeah. My
Okay.
lord, it's correct, my lord.
All right.
Mm.
You did not find it maybe necessary to just inquire from Mr. de Klerk how far is the transaction of the CC? Because it might have been some time. That's 2017. Then there's the whole 2018, I think.
Yeah, correct, my lord.
Yes. I'm just wondering, like, what could have been happening all that time?
Yeah, my lord, I've never been in touch with Baron de Klerk or this THC because 2017 it was end of the year, going November, December. In December, my lord, normally we take our breaks. We focus on other matters like family and things like that. So I was on the farm, if my memory serves me well. Our reception on the farm is not so, telephone-wise, it's not so, it's very difficult. It is very difficult to get receptions and calls. 2018, when I came back from my leave, normally January as well, I also take a break to work on cattle vaccination counts, things like that. So 2018 up to January 2018, I was not reachable. It was very difficult. February 2019, to my recollection, I never went back to him as well. I never went back to him. I was not in touch with him.
Did you ask for a brief adjournment, or we should adjourn for lunch?
I think for lunch, Your Lordship, if the court.
Okay. All right, we'll then adjourn for lunch and we'll resume at 2:15.
Thanks.